Hello there ladies and gentlemen, Paul TX141 Walsh here, also known as Britain a Spit, welcoming you to an all new lap guide for Gran Turismo Sport. This guide focuses on the circuit, Tokyo Expressway, South Outer Loop, as will be featured in the upcoming 8th and final round of Season 5 of the Acelith Design Endurance Championship in 2020. With a race involving cars from the Gr.4 class, this guide will showcase hot laps from one car within each of the drivetrain subclasses. Front engine rear wheel drive or FR, the Dodge Viper, mid engine rear wheel drive or MR, McLaren 650S, all wheel drive or AWD, that's the Subaru WRX, and finally front engine front wheel drive or FF, in this case the Renault Sport Megane. The order of content in this video will be as follows. Firstly, a track review covering the turns and sectors of the circuit, along with my thoughts on the type of car that will be best suited to the track. Then a breakdown of a hot lap in terms of braking points, acceleration zones and other items of note, such as track limits. And last but not least, the 4 hot laps, with introductions summarising the key differences between each hot lap with respect to the strengths and weaknesses of each drivetrain. As may be seen from the circuit map, the South Outer Loop variant of Tokyo Expressway is a clockwise city circuit, which comprises of 9 turns as split across 3 sectors. Starting with Sector 1, this sector is dominated by a series of medium-speed corners, with turn 1 seeing drivers braking down from typically top gear to a mid-range gear. Turns 2 to 4 then follow, forming a fast-flying triple chicane which requires drivers to balance throttle input so that they may hold a tight line through each corner whilst carrying sufficient momentum as to set them up well for the next corner in the sequence. Cars which are optimised for handling, particularly the MR and FF drivetrains, will thrive in this sector. Sector 2 comprises of the Turn 5 hairpin followed by a long snaky straight. Turn 5 involves the heaviest braking zone of the circuit, with drivers needing to reduce the momentum they have picked up from Sector 1 as they brake into the hairpin, coming down to second gear or in some cases first gear. It should be noted that this hairpin is wide as it acts as both a major overtaking zone and also the entry point for the pit lane. The focus of this sector is getting the best possible launch out of the hairpin onto the straight, as this is where lap times shall be made or lost. The straight is long enough to enable drivers to reach top gear in their respective machinery before entering Sector 3. Cars which are optimised for power and straight line speed, particularly the FR drivetrain, will love this sector. Sector 3 concludes the lap, starting with Turn 6, which is a medium speed corner that is similar to Turn 1, albeit the braking zone for Turn 6 is uphill and the acceleration zone to exit the corner is slightly downhill. These changes in road gradient mean drivers can take late braking points into the corner, but also need to be wary of getting on the power too soon when coming out of the corner. Turns 7 and 8 then follow, with a heavy braking zone leading into a low to medium speed chicane, which is made difficult by raised curbs which, if hit directly, can launch cars off the racing line and require their drivers to take emergency corrective action. Drivers will need to nail their braking points for this chicane so as to avoid hitting the curbs directly. Turn 9 completes the sector with a full throttle medium speed corner that enables drivers to build up speed before commencing their next lap. As this sector involves a mixture of both power and handling aspects, most cars will enjoy this sector, and it will be down to the driver to get the most lap time out of this sector to complete their lap. As for my final thoughts on the circuit, given the fact that this circuit will see drivers only needing to apply the brakes for 4 out of the 9 corners, and that the straight connecting turns 5 and 6 is so long, I feel that this circuit is more suited to cars which have been tuned for straight line speed, particularly the FR drivetrain. Whilst the handling cars will be stronger in Sector 1, particularly the MR and FF drivetrains, the time they gain from this sector will be matched or even surpassed by the time they lose down the straight from turns 5 to 6. That is not to say, however, that a savvy driver in a handling car cannot seek to use the slipstream of a power car down this straight to mitigate this weakness. In this lap breakdown, we shall be riding on board the FR drivetrain car, the Dodge Viper. In terms of the car settings, balance of performance BOP is on, racing super soft tyres have been fitted to the car, fuel and tyre wear are off, brake balance has been set to 0, and traction control has been set to 0. These settings have been used for all of the hot laps that shall be shown in this video to provide a fair comparison between the laps. Also, where possible, I have tried to use the same racing line for each of the laps. My braking point for turn 1 is as soon as I pass under the 100 metre brake board. Note that through the corner I will be applying a moderate amount of throttle to maintain speed through the apex. My acceleration point for exiting turn 1 is based around the end of the red and white arrows on the outer wall of the corner, in combination with how tight to the inner wall I have taken the corner. The tighter the line, the sooner I can get on the throttle upon seeing the red and white arrows. My lifting and turning points for turn 2 are based around this lamppost just before corner entry. Depending on the car and how well I've taken turn 1, I will adjust these points in relation to the lamppost. For example, if my exit speed from turn 1 is poor, I will lift off the throttle later to try and carry as much momentum as possible into the corner. My lifting and turning points for turn 3 are based around the end of the red and white arrows on the outer wall of turn 2. Assuming my line through turn 2 has been good, I shall lift and turn in just as I am about to pass the end of these arrows. Note that as turn 4 follows closely after turn 3, I will be aiming to get the car over to the right as soon as possible upon exit from turn 3 to prepare the optimal line for turn 4. This requires careful throttle management so as not to overextend to the left upon exit from turn 3. My lifting and turning points for turn 4 are based on this flag post which precedes the entry to turn 4. As soon as I have passed this post, I shall lift off the throttle and begin to turn in. Note that I do not have a reference marker for accelerating out of turn 4. Instead, I base my acceleration point on how tightly I've met the apex of the corner. The tighter I am, the earlier I can get on the throttle. Turn 4 is a corner that tests the driver's confidence in getting on the throttle and is, in my opinion, the most challenging corner on the circuit because of this. My braking point for turn 5 is just as I am about to pass under the 100 metre pit brake board. This braking point is precise and if missed, will see me go too deep into the hairpin and onto the marbles. My acceleration point for exiting turn 5 is as soon as I see the second white-black GT Sport billboard come into view. Once I've seen this billboard, I will begin to build the throttle input gradually before planting my foot to the floor once I feel the car is stable and ready to hit the straight up to turn 6. My braking point for turn 6 is just before I pass this lamppost. My acceleration point for turn 6 is based on this lamppost, which effectively signals to me I'm exiting the corner. As I'm about to pass this lamppost, I will start to build the throttle before fully applying the throttle as I pass it. My braking point for turn 7 is based on this flag post, whereas my turning point is based on the start of the red and white curb. I aim to brake as I pass under the flag post and turn in at the start of the red and white curb. With regards to taking the chicane, note how I shall hit the raised curve for turn 7 harder than planned, meaning I am launched across the chicane and miss the curb for turn 8. Fortunately, due to the heavy weight of the Dodge Viper, I shall be able to get the car back under control before drifting beyond the track limits. The track limits for the exit of turn 8, and thereby the chicane, are defined by the white lines on the inside of the exit curb. You will receive a track limit infringement penalty should you put more than 2 wheels beyond this line. My turning point for turn 9 is as I pass this flag post. I shall keep my throttle pedal fully planted through the corner. With the lap breakdown covered, it is time for us to take a look at the 4 sample hot laps, starting with the FR drivetrain lap featuring the Dodge Viper. This will be the uninterrupted version of the lap that was shown in the lap breakdown. The focus of this lap is in sectors 2 and 3, where the straight line power of the Dodge allows it to gain lap time. Now moving on to the handling drivetrain, the focus of this lap is in sector 1, where the stronger handling characteristics of the McLaren allow me to be more aggressive through this sector. However, note how the McLaren loses out on the straights from turn 9 to turn 1 and turn 5 to turn 6. As for the middle ground drivetrain between FR and MR, this lap is similar to that of the McLaren 650S. The Subaru's AWD drivetrain enables me to be aggressive through sector 1 once I've managed the initial understeer invoked by the drivetrain. However, much like the McLaren, the Subaru's lack of top speed is really exposed down the long straight from turn 5 to turn 6. With the FF drivetrain being known as the drivetrain that typically produces the best one-lap pace in Group 4 based on the current balance of performance, it is worth noting that the poor top gears of the FF drivetrain will be exposed by the long straight from turn 5 to turn 6 at this circuit. This is shown here, but mitigated by the car's great handling, enabling me to carry a lot of momentum through Sector 1 and get a strong launch out of the turn 5 hairpin. With that, I hope you have enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment or subscribe for future GT Sport videos. But until next time, as always ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, stay well and stay smiling.